and so enthusiastic also. This is one of those times when you go ahead, and I'm doing it right now because my phone, as you all know, is the one that generally goes off, and it's not supposed to. It went off in last year's session, and I was left being extremely apologetic because my phone was talking during the session. So let's be sure that we turn off our phones, put them in a safe place so that we aren't interrupting anyone. Okay, so this is our annual fall secondary literacy panel, literacy specialist panel. So for those of you who don't know who I am Charlotte Pass, the literacy department. And yes, it is pass, like pass a class, honest to goodness. And no, I didn't change my name to that, I was born with it. And we do this to get information from the front lines. What's really going on in schools with literacy specialists? What are they doing? What sorts of assessments are occurring, etc. So we have this great opportunity set up for all of you. In the fall, we have the secondary literacy specialist panel, and in the spring, we have the elementary one. As you know, the literacy content specialty test covers birth through grade 12, no matter what program you are enrolled in. So you need to keep that in mind as you are listening and taking notes, because you will be expected to know information for the entire continuum, birth through grade 12. And there may be information shared here tonight that could be crucial in your taking and passing of the new test. The new test just rolled out at the end of September. I just want to say before we begin, I want to extend a special thank you to the Campus Artist and Lecture Series and to the Literacy Department for making this evening possible financially, sponsoring it, and also to Ms. Mary Jo Morse, because she was responsible for organizing everything and making sure that we had a place to meet, and our wonderful experts all lined up to be here with us. And it's especially important to thank all of you for being here, because your attendance here is crucial, I think, in terms of knowledge that you can acquire. And also the questions that you prepared are going to be what drives this entire session, because it's your questions and your questions only that are going to be discussed tonight. So I want to thank you in advance for that as well. And now, for the most important, most crucial members, our guests this evening, we have our experts from the front line who have, yes, just as many of you, worked the entire day and then come here, have driven here, not just a short drive, they didn't just come from around the corner, so that they could be here with all of us to share their insights and their expertise. And so let's please give a very warm welcome to our literacy specialists. And ladies, you know I love you already, but you're all going to love them as well. But why don't we start with Erin and come around and introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from.
Okay. My name is Erin Brown. I'm a teacher at Union Platte High School, which is down in the Binghamton area. And I am a SUNY Cortland graduate, so I love coming up here and helping you guys out.
Well, we're glad to have you.
I'm Tracy Kurtz. I'm a reading teacher at Dryden High School, and I'm also a SUNY Cortland graduate.
I'm Gwen Freeman, and I teach at Ithaca High School, and my degree and certification came from Towson University in Maryland. Yeah, what else?
No, we give you perspective. It's all good. And you all have water now, so life is even better. So, yay. Thank you for that, Bree. Okay, so let's just jump right into our questions. I believe you all received a copy of them so that if you had a chance to look at them. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first question. So do you feel that districts are currently placing a large enough emphasis on literacy? I love that question. So who would like to tackle that first?
I think I will, because at this point I would say no. And the reason I say that is I hear from my compatriots in other districts that literacy programs are being cut, or they're being renamed, or they're being folded into other departments. And even in a district like mine, where the superintendent's first degree was as a reading specialist, he does not believe that reading is necessary as a curriculum base at secondary ed.
In driving, our district is putting emphasis on literacy. We have hired a second K-6 literacy coach and a second high school reading teacher this year. Last year we hired a middle school reading teacher. So they are looking at all the reading programs K-12 and trying to enhance literacy.
I think Union Endicott is also trying to keep an emphasis on literacy. Where they have to make cuts, they try to put in volunteer programs where they train the parents to come in and do some reading skills with them. They have the high school kids going down to the elementary and middle school, trying to do some peer tutoring there. Obviously, there's always room for more emphasis, and it's true that budget cuts do cut into the literacy because it's not necessarily structured with the mandates the same way some of the other programs are. So it's one area where the districts can make cuts and still fall within the legal mandates. So I think there's always room for more.
And you beautifully segue into our second question, so thank you. I'll pay you after. So it seems that many literacy specialists have been released from their positions because of budget cuts. So how valuable do you feel that your current position is being viewed by your school district?
You want me to take that?
Take that, please.
Okay. All right. As a former department chair for academic intervention services, i.e. reading literacy, I watched the department be dissolved 2 years ago. And all but 3 of us in the department were parceled out to elementary or middle schools. Those that remain, one is working PCEN, and if you're not familiar with that old term, it's used with mathematics. So they're doing math support, she's doing math support. The remaining 2 of us have been aligned with the English department, absorbed by the English department. And they have given 1 full English teacher, the 2 of us, and 3 teaching assistants. And put us together into what is called the Reading and Writing Lab. Basically, the idea behind it is to come up with a strong enough base of these people working together to get the students able to pass the various tests that need to be passed, Regents in particular, for graduation. So they see that aspect of what we're doing as important. They don't know that it's being seen as literacy specialists as being important. But what we do, the work we do, is clearly literacy in support of English and anything else that requires reading and writing in the school and high school.
In our district, I think they're taking the reading problems seriously because they've expanded our program 612, and we will become our own department next year. We were part of the English department, now we'll become our own department next year.
You,
And they've recently upgraded all of our programs. The 3 middle school Read 180, System 44 programs are now all use Chromebooks. They don't use desktop computers, they all use Chromebooks. I think they're taking it seriously because we are making a difference and making it easier for kids to pass high
to
school.
show you the difference. Our Read 180 program is gone, except for 1 middle school and the ESL students. Just
Read 180 is a scholastic reading program. That's a program that divides, it's a rotation schedule where you do a large group lesson, and then the kids go off and do their individual instruction on the software. It's a software program. And they learn how to pick and choose and read books at their Lexile level. And then you take them into a small group instruction to do conferencing and build their skills and things like that. It's just a scholastic reading program. System 44 is
Very effective one, too.
yeah, very effective. And System 44 is a lower level phonics-based 44 phone. We use it generally just for special ed kids or students that come in and are reading all below second grade.
It's also excellent for ESL,
Yes. ESL and foreign exchange students.
foreign exchange students.
Okay, Erin, back to our original question that you segued us into.
Well, I experienced budget cuts when I was hired 15 years ago at Maine Endwell. I was there for 3 years, I got my tenure, and then that summer they had budget cuts, and I was the last one hired, the first one to let go. So fortunately, UE was expanding their program, and I was hired that same summer that I was let go, so it was very lucky for me. Union Endicott has had to scale back on their staffing. We used to have 3.5 teachers at the high school, the other half was shared at the middle school, and they had 5. But we've now scaled down to 2.5, so we've lost a position there over the years. They do still value us, like you were saying, those of us that are here, they still hold us in value. Over the summer, local BOCES had a training with the Common Core, and they invited one teacher, 9, 10, 11, and 12. When I expressed an interest, they said absolutely, they paid for me to be that 5th person going to it and stuff. So they do value the position that I have. They do value the literacy specialist district-wide K-12. So I think it's kind of a hybrid of knowing that budget cuts are going to keep dwindling, but those of us that are still there, they want to, show us that they respect our position and want our help and support. So.
And we've had a lot of discussion about this next question campus-wide, within our department, as our school, etc. And that is, does your school or district have a current literacy vision? Okay, have you articulated a vision? And if so, how did you go about creating the vision statement? Who is involved, and could you share anything about that process?
We don't have one.
We don't either.
We don't have an explicit updated vision. We created one about 12 years ago.
Forgot about that. I guess we do have one.
Yeah.
And it still applies.
And it still applies, right. We got together, we had a department meeting, because at that time we were large enough to be a department, and it was K-12, we got together, we talked about it, we discussed it with the administration, and we created a vision. We sort of tweak it, and nothing's official. We haven't ever gotten back together to create a district-wide vision goal for it. But in general, if anyone asks, new parents, new families, things like that, we do want the children to have their education aligned with the Common Core. We do want them to move forward at their own pace, is what they'll say, but of course it's to keep up with their grade level as well. So a lot of pressure is put on the literacy specialists. If you have a student who's 3, 4 grade levels behind, to get them back onto grade level, because you don't really want to leave anyone behind. So.
Okay, so we are moving now more into the roles that you all play. Sean? Yes.
Kind of skipped over 3. I don't know if
I'm gonna come
anyone's
back.
interested. Okay.
I'll come back
I didn't know if anyone's
under
interested in that,
assessments.
or-
Yes. But thank you though. Yes, we'll come back. The roles that you play, is the literacy specialist expected to be the literacy coach in your district? And then what are the roles and expectations of a literacy coach as compared to a literacy specialist?
Our district has a literacy coach, K through 8. There's one at the K-5 buildings, and there's one at the 6-8 building. There's not a literacy coach 9 through 12. They follow the Fontes and Pinnell model with literacy, and so they've gone up to Boston. They've been officially trained up there. They come back here. Their role as the coach is to train the classroom teachers and the other literacy teachers in the building. They spend half their day going into the classrooms, observing the kids, observing the teachers, and then the other half of their day is spent doing trainings and workshops and things. With the 9 through 12, I've actually been trained in the program because I used to be at the elementary level. The other literacy teacher at 9 through 12 has not been trained, and it was never offered to her, so I just happened to have it because of my previous experience at the elementary level. But both of us are seen as unofficial coaches, so if there ever is a question, they will come to us right away. Me more so than the other one, just because of my background, they know I have the answers quicker. So I'm not an official literacy coach. I do not have it into my schedule to observe anyone or do any official training, but the teachers easily come to me and collaborate and ask for questions and advice whenever they need to. So
Our district has 2 literacy coaches, and they're both at the elementary level, the elementary buildings. So they don't come up, and like you said, ours push into the classrooms to help teachers with Storytown, a new reading program at the elementary schools, undertaken, I think, 2 years, 3 years ago. I don't know how long Storytown. Helps them with their Storytown program. As far as being a literacy coach at the 6-12 buildings, 9-12, I have teachers come to me and ask me about how to add things to their tests or how should they look. But as far as being a true literacy coach, I don't go and serve classrooms.
Ithaca at one time had 3 at the high school, 2 middle school, and I think 4 at the elementary level. We worked directly with the director of literacy programs at the district, and it worked well as we were working with middle school and worked. I know it worked well at the elementary level. The principal at the high school was not interested in supporting literacy coaches, and basically we lasted about a year. And teachers still come to me, they still come to Mary, they still come to Carol. They still ask us for assistance, but there's no official literacy position anymore. There it is.
Well, and that leads us into our next question. How can a classroom teacher coordinate with a literacy specialist to embed literacy more adequately in the classroom?
Just ask. I think we're nice people.
You know, one of the things that happens with us, because we have the large reading and writing lab, is that we've got a lot of drop-in teachers as well as drop-in students, and they will come in, they will bring materials, they will ask for support for the students, for support in curricula. So we offer that wherever we can. They often will invite us into the classroom to work for a period of time to help direct. So that's how we make the connections. And there's also a better sense of communication than we've had in the past between departments and the reading writing lab. So that helps a lot. They don't like to use the word congruence anymore, where you align things, but it is happening nonetheless, and it works. Where you align assignments with
both English and social studies teachers coming to me frequently to have me help them with a lesson or to have me help students that we share in common. The students that I have, I see in a separate class. It's a scheduled period in their day. I see them every other day, which is a little disjointed, but it's the way that the district schedules it. So I'll see them days 1, 3, and 5, or 2, 4, and 6. But the teachers know that I'm willing to work with the students on an assignment that they're given in social studies or in English, and especially if we have a chance to meet outside of the class during lunch, during a common prep, before or after school, and we'll talk about different ways that they can phrase the directions, different ways that they can adjust the assignment so that the struggling students have a better chance at succeeding in it. So it's just asking.
Yeah, our district has recently set up what they call an academic lab, which is pretty much a reading and writing lab, and teachers just send students down there to get help in reading and writing. They need to make up classwork. It is also the lab where students come to take their AP classes if they're doing an online AP class, if they need to write college applications. They come down there. If they need help in math, English, science, or social studies, they send them down. The only thing I can't do is English. Physics.
I feel you. Okay, so what does your daily schedule look like? I know that when yours starts rather early in the morning.
Zero period. Yeah, there's 1 through 8, and then there's 0 through 9. Well, 0 period is mine. So I start at 7:55 in the morning with high school students. And so students who need an extra credit can get it and still maybe have a lunch once in a while. A lot of the students that are doing Project Lead the Way, which is a major engineering program, takes 0 period. I'm certified English and reading, and so I teach English classes, juniors and seniors, and so my schedule is basically 0, 1, 2 in English department, and then the other periods I am in the reading and writing lab.
My day also starts at 7:55, 7:45. And I teach 3 sections of Read 180 and 4 sections of Reading AIS Academic Lab.
I get to sleep until 8:10. So we have a 20-minute time period from 8:10 to 8:30, which is extra help, and the students aren't scheduled in a specific classroom. They're able to go to wherever they want to go or wherever they need to go to get extra help. They can go to their classroom teachers. They can come into my room. So each day for those 20 minutes, I never know exactly who I'm going to get or what they're going to need help with. Starting at 8:30 is first period, and so I teach 6 periods of what's considered AIS English, Academic Interventions Service. I get students 9th through 12th grade who, the 9th graders are the ones who failed the 8th grade New York State ELA exam, or I should say most of them. There was 147 that failed in our district. I only have 72 of them in my schedule. So the others didn't quite work into their schedule, but most of them are also special ed, so they're getting extra support with their co-taught. But I also have 10th and 11th graders, not too many of them. They're usually teacher recommendation based. And then I have the 12th grade seniors who failed the Regents last year and need to pass it this year in order to graduate. So some of them I will lose after January, after they take the exam and hopefully pass, and some of them I will keep through the end of the year.
Only 72 of them.
Only 72 of the 9th graders, yes. My roster is 97, so.
So how many students do each of you work with on a daily basis, would you say? 90?
97 is my total roster, but since I see them every other day, I get about 45 of them. And And unfortunately, my class is mixed 9 through 12, so it's more challenging. When I first started, they were very structured with only having 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, 12th, and they kind of threw that out the window of scheduling and said, look, we're just going to give you all 9 through 12, deal with it. So.
You said, thank you. I said, thank you, man, have more, please.
I said, thank you, it works. I mean, the kids are resilient, you make it work, so.
I have about 40 ninth graders and 2 seniors.
I see about 126 students in it.
Oh, that's nothing.
Well, it's better than when I was in Baltimore.
Okay, see how resilient you need to be as a literacy specialist because it just changes on you. Okay, all right, so often we hear that a literacy specialist job is really to help students with reading. What other responsibilities do you really have as a literacy specialist?
I think reading and writing go hand in hand. I get so many teacher recommendations from students that are reading fine but cannot write. And so I think they go hand in hand with the students, what they need and what the teachers are expecting from them. So often the kids can verbalize their ideas, but they cannot get it down on paper. So it's that step of teaching them how to think it through and then get it down on the paper. So I think that's a huge responsibility. As we said earlier, kind of unofficially coaching our colleagues who have questions, the teachers who've been there 20, even 30 years, or the new teachers who are fresh out from the English program. They still want to come and ask you a specific question about literacy skills and how am I going to help this student? You know, I know they're struggling to read, how can I help them? They can't put their name on the paper, what's wrong, what am I doing wrong? So I think it's that unofficial coaching and then the writing skills especially. So.
I have to agree with you. Reading and writing go hand in hand, and I've had the philosophy of read to write, write to read ever since I started. And I think they do go hand in hand, and you will find the students on both sides of that picture, where their reading is fine, their writing is horrible, or they can actually write, but their comprehension level is so low when they try to read that becomes has a real impact on what they know and can write about. I think the other thing that we do is critical thinking. It's a huge piece. Teaching the students to go deeper, not wider in their thinking, but deeper. There's so much that they face these days that's right here on the surface. Why should they go deeper? And to fully understand what they're trying to deal with in their courses, particularly high school courses. If they don't dig deep, they don't get it. And they might not pass because they really have to have that kind of understanding. So I think critical thinking is very important.
That's the first thing my students say when they walk in the door, I know how to read, why am I here? So I just try to tell them I'm not here to teach you how to read, I'm here to teach you how to pass your classes, how to find the answers in your textbooks, how to know what's in your textbook, and how to critically think or infer or read deeper. You know, your elementary teachers taught you basics of reading. I just need to help you learn how to read for the high school student. That does it, yeah.
I think what's unique at the high school, my experience when I was at the elementary level was that the kids were more or less eager to come to you and you didn't get that question of, I know how to read. Even in 4th and 5th grade, you might get a little resistance, but not as much. Definitely in the high school, they are giving you the attitude, they're giving you the resistance, and you do have to explain to them, this is not just reading the words on paper, this is understanding them. This is applying it to so many different levels of what you're doing. So I think that, I don't know, I think the age that you're dealing with is that's kind of an unofficial job is to counsel those high school students that you get and help them understand that it's a part of life. So.
Can we kind of connect what she just said to the next one?
Absolutely, feel free.
Okay, it says something about pulling students out and pushing in. We ran into this huge wall the last 2 years with students saying, I don't want to go to the AIS room. I don't want AIS. I don't need AIS. So we decided this summer to change the name. And it's been a 180 with these kids. It's not the middle school as they come in from 8th grade, and we've got a lot of them. Because lots of them did not pass that state exam. They did fine in English class, but they couldn't pass the silly exam. Well, how come I'm in a reading and writing lab? Well, you need some assistance, and here's what we're going to do. We are going to monitor your grades and your progress for the first 5 weeks. If you can maintain an 85 average, we will then take you out and allow you into a study hall or a study session, but we will keep monitoring your progress. If you begin to fall apart, we'll invite you back in. And don't be afraid to drop in whenever you need to, because we're here, 0 to 9. Well, what's happened is, we've got so many students we have to turn away. Literally, we've got kids coming in 9th period, we've got 15 seats, we've got 20 kids lined up at the door. And because it doesn't say AIS anymore, it's made a world of difference. Even the kids who we had last year, who knew it was AIS, they're much happier. It's all in the name.
Perception.
Indeed.
Perception is reality.
It is.
My Read 180 classes are scheduled, so the students come every day. The ACT Labs, AIS is every other day.
Our district has push-in K through 5, and then from 6 through 12, it's a pull-out program. It's a separate period on their schedule. But it's funny, we were just having a discussion about changing the name, because it is a stigma, and the kids do get very upset that they have AIS on their schedule. And so I don't have it anywhere on my room. The only place they know about it is on their schedule. I just call it the English lab, and I have had students come in from their study hall and ask for a pass to come into my classroom. We have a similar policy, 85 or better. They have to have it in English and social studies. They have to have it through the first 2 marking periods, so we don't exit them until January. If they have a 90 or better, we'll exit them after the first marking period, but 85 or better in those 2 subject areas, they exit in January. I have had several students who have met that criteria and asked, can I stay in your class?
And we get that all the time.
Yeah.
Do I have to leave? No, you don't have to leave. But the thing about the 85 and out after 5 weeks is that the students suddenly, as 8th grade going into 9th grade students, are going, wait a minute. If I put the kind of effort I need to into my courses, you mean I don't have to be here? You're right. We have probably about a 65% blowout rate, they're gone. And they only come back for drop-ins, which is pretty high for 9th graders.
We do 85 after 10.
Okay, so this question is a little different from earlier questions, because this is about you personally. So not what does the district expect of you in your daily job, but what do you feel is required for a reading teacher literacy specialist?
Because I am creating my own curriculum, when the students walk into my classroom, I have students who, I might have 12 students. 3 of them might be from this English teacher, 4 of them might be from this English teacher, 1 from another English teacher. They're reading different stories, they are learning different things at that time. One might be doing research, another one might be doing Shakespeare, another one might be doing short stories. So I'm creating my own curriculum, but I put it upon myself to know what is being taught in everyone's classroom, so that I'm aware of what they've done in class, for the most part. I may not know exactly that day, but I know for that week, basically what they've covered. I know what their homework assignments are. I know what their expectations are from each teacher. I also put it upon myself to know that in social studies. I don't get as many social studies students who are strictly social studies. Most of them are English and social studies. But I do get a few that are doing fine in English. They pass the state exams, but they are just struggling with history or global, so they get put into my class. So it's kind of something that I've put on myself to know what's being taught in all the different classes so that I can try to align what I'm doing to a generally align with it. If I know that they're doing research, I'm going to kind of do some basic research skills, even if everyone's not doing it at the same time, because it's either a pre-teaching or it's a review. So it helps a lot to know what the other teachers are doing in the building and in the curriculum.
I'm pretty fortunate that the Read 180 program is pretty scripted, but there are spaces in there where I can add writing assignments, and then they're aligned to what they're doing into the, I have all 9th graders this year for the first time. It's nice, right? So I only have to meet with the 3 9th grade teachers. So, and they, at the time, happen to be all teaching the same thing. This is really weird that I don't have to figure out, what
Your gift here.
short stories and research and, so it's kind of strange that I have all that stars in alignment, But yes, you have to know what the teachers are teaching. You have to know, I meet with the English teachers at least once a week to know what's coming up. So if I need to pre-teach, if they find something that certain students that I have didn't get in their classes, I make that one of my short or small group lessons and tie it into whatever they're working on in Read 180. But you have to know what's going on in the kids' classes, because they might come to you in the art class and say, I have to do this TBQ in social studies. So you have to know what it's about. Again, I'm pretty much English and social studies. I used to be more earth science, but I don't get that much anymore.
Well, here we go.
In a bigger school.
Yeah, we turned our big whiteboard into a grid of all of the English classes that are taught. And they're divided up by grade level and by specific course offering. We also have, those lovely crates that you drop the hang files into. And we have one for every course that an English teacher teaches. We also have a bulletin board that has a monthly plan for most of the teachers of what they expect to cover. Now, this has taken us, about 3 years of sitting down and having hard conversations with the English department. There are 23 members of the English department. And getting that information together so that at the beginning of each 5-week period or each quarter or each semester, depending on the situation, we get that information from various people, and the lights are going on. Anyway, so if you come into the room, it may look like chaos, but it's organized chaos. We really do know what we're doing. We have 4 people in there almost all the time working with students. Actually, I say we have TAs. Every single one of us is a certified English or literacy instructor. We have 3 that decided not to teach, but they're certified as English teachers. We work with those kids, one-on-one, 2-on-1, whatever it takes. We'll take small groups. You all have Mrs. Metzler, come with me. We're going to work over here. So the assignments, we pretty much know. It's the kids that come in with the, I've got an essay, I have no idea what to do, and the kid isn't assigned to us. That's when things get a little interesting. My job, first and foremost, is to build a relationship with that student, with any student that comes in, so that they know they have someone they can count on for support. feed them. It's not cheap, but we feed them.
Chocolate works for everybody.
Well, we actually have fruit out, we have granola bars out, we have stuff out, because the kids come in, a lot of them from the high school, and they go, Miss Freeman, we don't have a lunch period. Come on, we'll find something. So, if you don't build the relationships, if you don't make the inroads with the kids, you're not going to get anywhere with them, and that was a hard lesson learned, I think, by most of us. You build a relationship, and you can teach.
Okay, moving more into instruction. And Tracy, I think you were talking about this. Do you find it difficult to work with certain content areas like physics and, some of those classes that I know I veered away from and ran as fast as I could away from?
I do find it difficult, but I think if I have any questions, I can call the teachers and they'll help me. The math department gives me calculators to use and instruction on how to use it.
Yes.
There you go.
Very good.
Yes. And so I do find it difficult, but it's easier. This is the easiest year I've had so far as content that I need to learn, because it's all ninth grade or continued learning. Behaviors are different this year. But yeah, it is difficult. But most of the staff is very willing, especially if you're helping their kids, their students, they're very willing to help you.
Yeah, my first year, I was going crazy trying to learn the ninth grade English and social studies curriculum. I mean, I took it, I passed it, but it was so long ago that I was taking the textbook home, I was taking home the notes and the assignments and stuff. Now I'm in my 5th year at the high school. It's become easier for me to jump into a lesson in those two content areas because I've studied it so much. I do get the earth science, I do get the math occasionally, and so if it's a single assignment, I can work with them because I'm showing them how to delve into the reading, read the passage, understand the text, how's it going to help you. And like you said, if it's more expensive than that, you just email the teacher or find a time to meet with them and stuff. But for the most part, I think the teachers, hey, you're helping this student pass? Yeah, I'll come meet with you after school and we can chat about what you need to learn and what you need to understand. So, and the lunchroom, don't ever avoid the lunchroom. Definitely go to the teacher's lunchroom because, you not only do you build friendships there, but you make so many connections that there's a science teacher there, he teaches chemistry, but he's willing to help me in any of the other content areas, and sometimes he's more accessible than some of the other teachers. So I'll call him right up and I'll be like, all right, Steve, come help me with this. And it's because we've had lunch together so many times that he's willing to just jump right in and help me and stuff. Even if it's not a student that he has, he knows what I'm asking and he'll tell me exactly where to go for the answers. So that's just a little sidebar. You should always get to know the faculty and staff across the way.
Okay, so if you are actually working with secondary learners on their remedial reading, how do you select books for them? And what do you think about using the love to children's picture books? I think that they work for everything.
We use lots of picture books. And we've got quite a library of various things. Plus, we've added a lot of graphic novels. The students relate to them really well. They're connected to them. If they're not strong readers, they think that's fabulous. Really? We can read a graphic novel and do our book report? Yeah, you sure can. And what that does is allow them a sense of accomplishment so that they then are more willing to try the book without pictures. That has worked pretty well. We go to the book sales, we go to remainder sales, and we buy everything we can find that looks like it would be a good fit for, J or YA, juvenile, young adult. And we have lots of them, the shiny new covers on them, so they look great. And the kids are more willing to try. Oh, I've read this. This is fabulous. Have you looked at this? And share with them the things, book talk your books. They love that. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, I use a lot of picture books, especially if it's a lesson that I need to build upon. So if I have to, if the teachers are going to be teaching close reading, I always start with a picture book. Sometimes I start with just a picture book. It doesn't have any words, and just kind of look at the pictures and have to figure out what's in them to make it. Thinking, what else is there? You know, it's not just black and white on the page. You have to look deeper. So yeah, I'm fortunate that that I have a lot of high interest, low level books, and I've been able to purchase at book sales a lot of books on hunting and magazines that I had to go through because it's that time of year, and I have a lot of boys and they all hunt. Favorite book right now is how do you tell the type of grizzly bear in your area?
Right, that's kind of important.
It's kind of important.
Survivor skills.
Or how to skin a deer is the other one.
Oh, great.
Yes, picture books are always welcome across the board. I don't think you can ever outgrow them, so we have plenty in the classroom. I know plenty of the English teachers that use them in their curriculum as well. Graphic novels are another saving grace. It gets the kids very excited to read, and like she said, a sense of accomplishment and stuff. Along the lines of how to skin a deer, driver's manual is a favorite book to have
Yep,
in
got that.
the classroom. You have to have that, and the kids jump at it. Even the 14-year-olds are running in. Oh, can I read this? So, yeah, finding their interest in stuff. And magazines, I've been fortunate that my district has found funds. I don't ask, they come up with it. But for Scholastic has several magazines that align with the Common Core with the articles that they have. So I order Upfront, which is a social studies current events magazine. I've ordered Choices. I've ordered Science World even because that's a high interest for the kids and stuff. And magazines, I know some teachers shy away from them, but it is excellent, just like the graphic novels, to get the kids to pick up something and read rather than just flip through and pretend to read. There are several English teachers that do a Friday free read, where on Friday they have the students take out a book and read, and then the last 5 minutes they have to write about what they read. Well, I have students that come in and go, yeah, you know what I did for Friday free read? I flipped through the pages, and at the end I just made something up because my teacher can't read all the books, so she didn't know that I lied about it. I said, okay, so let's come up with another plan because, that's a waste of 40 minutes to just flip through pages and then make up a story. So we, compromised. She wasn't allowed to bring the magazines in, but we did find some graphic novels that were willing, met the common ground with the English teacher and stuff. And some of the English teachers do allow the magazines for Friday free read. But it's excellent to get the kids jumping into reading and showing them like, hey, you read this article, now let's try this chapter, now let's try this novel, and it just builds and stuff. So.
And if you're looking for books, I just got the emails about the Tompkins Public Library book sale starts.
It started last weekend.
Oh, last week. Of course I get it late. But it's every weekend, and the prices go down a little more each weekend. So they always have such an amazing selection of children's picture books and young adult novels, and y'all know how I have to have both, so I have to be able to afford them.
It started this last weekend, and it goes almost until November, on every weekend.
So your
They do
offices
that
should look
to the-
like mine.
They do it in the fall, they do it again in the spring, okay, so watch for the signs.
Okay, so you were talking a little bit about the different groups that you work with. So when you are grouping students, kind of what is the size or how do you determine the grouping? You were saying that you say, okay, all the students in this particular class come over here and let's do this.
Well, the situation is that, let me back up. It used to be that state mandate said you could take no more than 6 students into, for one teacher in a support situation. Then it went up to 8, then it pushed it to 10, and now we have 15 seats in our reading, writing lab. When the students come in, we have built a kind of rapport among the teachers where we look at each other and go, okay, you're Metzler, you're Schwartz, and you're Miller. Okay, that's what we're going to aim for right now, because we know we've got all 9th grade students, and we just kind of split them up. We've also built relationships, like I said, with certain kids and with material for certain teachers. So I would say probably the average size, we often do one-on-one, but our groups might be 4 students to 1 teacher. And then we have some that are capable of working on their own. So we split it that way.
My largest group this year is 9, but I like to keep it about 2 or 3. And I try to group them according to the lexile level in the read 180 room. In the ACT lab for AIS, it's by content. So if you're working on earth science, you'll go there, I'll work on earth science with you. And this one, I'm going to social studies. On the day.
Really the ideal group size to work with would be about 3 or 4, I think. I have classes as large as 16. My average class size is 12. My favorite class sizes, I have a couple of periods where I only have 3 or 4 students, so those are great. I have stations set up in my room. I have a writing station where they have a list of prompts. There are picture books, there are picture cards. I have a magazine station where they are reading either a specific article and I'm giving them guiding questions, or sometimes it's open-ended. They get to choose the article and answer a series of questions based on that. I have a vocabulary station where they are looking up definitions, using context clues, just strengthening their vocab skills. And then I have the text-based evidence station where they are reading and doing comprehension questions. Those stations are set up on the perimeter of the room, so when they come in, they can go to a station, pick up the material, and go back to the desks. I have the desks clustered in groups of 2, 3, 4, and then I have some single desks. So on a given day, I may go over to a cluster of students and work with those 3 students if I know that they have a similar assignment that they're working on from a common teacher. Or I may pull 4 students over to a corner and I might say, okay, we're going to work on the text-based evidence, and I'm going to make them, either I'm going to make them grab stuff from the station or I'm going to pull out something else that I've had. I try to look at their notebooks once a week. I give them a notebook at the beginning of class, the first day of school, and they keep it throughout the year if they're with me for the whole year. They have to write in it every single day. Sometimes it's a given prompt, sometimes it's a free write, sometimes it's based on a reading passage and then their comprehension essay to it. So I look at those at least once a week. I look at the papers that they've turned in from the stations, and I try to judge what they're in need of, and that's how I'm going to kind of group them, but it changes from day to day. So I may not work with the same student in the same group. I may not even work for them the whole week. I might not hit them until the next week. They always have those stations to go to keep them occupied with skills that they need to work at. And then I'm just kind of moving along and stuff.
All right, so when you are working with struggling readers, we all have certain strategies for working with them because they all have different needs. I mean, some struggling readers, have difficulty with fluency, some have difficulty with comprehension, some have difficulty with vocabulary, some have difficulty with all of it. Some have difficulty with penmanship and they can't read their own handwriting, and that presents a problem. So what is your favorite strategy, depending upon, of course, what the student's need is when you're differentiating your instruction? What is your favorite strategy for working with struggling readers?
I like paired reading. I do a lot of paired reading. I have my students do paired reading with each other. And you can start out really light on their end and heavy on your end. And then they build some confidence, they build some fluency, so that they can then read more of what you're sharing. So you have a copy of the book, they have a copy of the book, and you take turns reading. It works really well if you've got two students, one who is a better reader than the other. You can get them to do it that way. And they help each other, particularly if they're, you have to watch for a good match.